This episode of Heavy Cardboard is brought to you by BoardGameTables.com. Without question, Chad and his folks go the extra mile to ensure that not only are you getting an amazing quality board game table, but that the entire process is as smooth as a warm knife through butter.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're interested, considering, or in the market for a new centerpiece for your game room, head on over to BoardGameTables.com and customize your dream table. Oh, and mention Heavy Cardboard when you do.
Heavy Cardboard, episode 76, HeavyCon recap. Coming to you from the HeavyCon Recovery Award at HCHQ in Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx. In this episode, it's all about HeavyCon. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
And I'm Amanda. Wow.
Yeah, I think that thanks for listening.
Yeah, we're done. Out. It was HeavyCon was awesome.
It was exhausting. It was awesome. It was amazing. It was all the adjectives.
Yes.
Right?
All of them.
Funny enough, I find myself busier now, though, that I've quit my avionics job and I'm just producing content during the day. Not to mention, though, and you can attest to this, I feel like I'm a little bit happier.
A little bit? I'll take massive understatement for 100, Alex.
Yeah, so we've been busting out a lot of content lately, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had a 90-minute interview with Vital Lacerda, 2-player live stream, including teaching a PAX Renaissance, hour and 45-minute interview and discussion with Nuno and Paulo, Ask the Elephant segment. We did the Age of Steam HeavyCon XL map to break in the brand new table, which we'll talk about that more next episode. 4-player Indonesia just earlier today, which was our most requested playthrough.
By far, yeah.
I think it went really well, too.
Yeah, I do, too.
And
I mean, I lost massively, but that's fine.
But you made it look good. You brought a little class and culture.
Well, there's that,
to the
I suppose.
stream. And, I mean, you were competitive. You just didn't do so hot that game. It happens.
Yep.
And then when you guys are listening to this on Monday, tonight we're going to be doing the Kanban live stream and production copy of Lisboa. Originally timed, for folks that get theirs at Origins, but I hear there's been a production delay until August.
Oops.
So it'll be there for when you guys get your copies. However, they are apparently going to have some copies for sale at Origins, which we're going to, so you can always pick up a copy there, maybe?
Sure.
But anyway, moral of the story, I guess, is been pounding out a lot of content, and it seems people are really digging it.
Yeah, it's nice.
And I'm having fun with it. I also did a couple of impromptu kind of live streams with the 2017 Winsome set, showed that off.
And you also did an unboxing of said Lisboa.
Oh, yeah, and a 45-minute unboxing video, but it actually pretty in-depth.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in that box.
There is, plus the way the player boards are constructed was really, really nice. So more on that next episode when we review it, though. So speaking of Origins, it's right around the corner. It's in 3 days.
I know.
Well, 4 from when we're recording it, 3 from when you hear it.
It's just like, I don't understand. Like, we just had HeavyCon, and now we're going to Origins?
Yeah, I know. Crazy. But good problem to have. Not complaining, mind you. I'm excited about it. It's our first time going to Origins.
Yeah.
So our home base is going to be at the Capstone Games booth, which is booth 439, right near the center of the room. We're going to be there a couple hours every day, so definitely be sure to stop by and say hi if you're at Origins. We're going to spend a lot of time just taking pictures, video, interviewing some folks, but also, playing games.
And having fun at a convention.
Right. So seriously. And on top of that, we talked to the fellas over at Roxley, and we're going to be bringing both of the brass, the Roxley Games versions of brass, both Lancashire and Birmingham. So if you're interested in checking those out, we'll have those with us. Plus, Capstone's releasing Lignum there. Eagle Griffin's going to have some, like we mentioned, of Lisboa. And, it's the annual kickoff to the major convention season. So we're looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. Speaking of which, big thanks to Joe over on the Deep End podcast, because he took it upon himself as a last-second little thing to organize a Heavy Cardboard meetup. We originally weren't going to have one because it's our first year there, and we don't know the lay of the land and everything. But he organized to where we're going to have a kind of an informal little soiree.
Oh, my.
At Pies and Pints, which is at 1026 North High Street, just about a half mile north of the convention center. It's on the same street as the convention center. Come out of the convention center on High Street, turn north and walk. And
you're going to run into us.
Right. So that's going to be Thursday night at 7 p.m. until the place closes. I think it's supposed to close 10 or 11, something like that. So it's just going to be a place to hang out, shoot the breeze and just, hang out with us and basically game day, but without the games.
Right.
But with beer
and pie,
pizza
apparently.
And hopefully really good pizza.
Yes.
So this is pizza I'm looking forward to trying.
Yes.
So we definitely hope you all can make it. Come hang out, meet your fellow elephants. We're going to have some t-shirts and maybe some other stuff on hand. We'll see. I don't know. We can't promise. Again, it was last second.
Right.
But yeah, come see us.
Woo!
All the ways to contact us are on our website, heavycardboard.com. We rely on the generous support from our patrons over on patreon.com. If you'd like to join the community, check us out, patreon.com/heavycardboard.
Our friends Carmen and Elaine over at Game Surplus just got in some really exciting restocks.
Yeah, they did.
Three Kingdoms Redux.
Ooh.
Le Havre.
Yes.
Pericles, the Peloponnesian Wars.
Which just came out from GMT.
Yeah. And the expansion for Hoshbell Connect and a whole lot more. So, check out those games and hundreds of other titles over at GameSurplus.com, where they're bringing the world of board games to you, and mention Heavy Cardboard when you do. I think really the best way to describe HeavyCon is amazing, because it's so amazing to see all the people. It's amazing to hang out with people, and it's mind-blowing.
For me, I think it's just a gathering of friends. So I find it interesting that here we are talking about a board game convention, and your whole little thing right there, at no point did you mention how great the games are, how much fun playing the games are, or anything like that.
No,
it's all about the people.
Yep, that's all it is.
Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of gaming that takes place.
Oh, yeah.
It's 16 hours a day for 4 days. But it is, at least for us, all about the people.
It really, really is.
So HeavyCon, 4 days of some of the best people in gaming that I think most folks, at least the folks that listen to the show, could want. Here are some quick numbers. We had 94 attendees, 261 logged games played.
Wow.
30 of which were 18XX games. So for those that think this is 18XX the con, so 261 logged, 30 or 18XX games. You do the math. PAX Renaissance was the most played game. Well, sort of. Okay. Outside of the Stratomatic baseball tournament.
Yes.
That was the most played game. And that was a lot of fun that Jim from over in Punching Cardboard and Scotty put together just a kind of an impromptu little Stratomatic baseball tournament, which I think Jim will talk about here later on. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I'll be honest, they got us hooked on it.
Yep, absolutely. And now we have a copy.
Yes.
Well, actually, Asher does, and he's just letting us borrow it.
Right. So thank you, Asher, and thank you, Scotty. So there were hundreds of cookies devoured by attendees, compliments of Tony K.A. and his mom.
Yes.
So that was really cool. She is a professional baker, because if she was a banker and just made a lot of cookies.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like Banker Dave, make good cookies too.
Right. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, his mom is a really, really good professional baker. And so she went above and beyond. She knew that Brandon was coming, and he knew that Brandon was coming from Brawling Brothers, so they made churro cookies.
Yes.
As like one of like 8 different types. It was amazing. That was fantastic. There were a handful of prototypes there. Jason Dinger's Captains of the Gulf, which has already been signed and is going to be published by Spielworks in 2018. Jim Keenan of Punching Cardboard fame. He brought his Call to Post, which I now have a copy of, which I'm going to actually have with me at Origins.
Yes.
Ryan Courtney's Pipeline was there. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it due to scheduling issues, but he made sure
He had a proxy.
Yeah, he had a proxy and his game made it, so that was awesome to see. And the board game group fellas, our good friends Mo, Brian, and Lyndon brought what's tentatively called The Cost. It's a game about asbestos mining, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We had Aegis Theme XL and 1861 XL, which if you watch the live stream of the Heavy Cardboard map, you get an idea of just the stupid scope of that. It's ridiculous.
They made quite a few of the XL maps, so yeah.
So I played the Netherlands map. Oh, right. You played that as well,
didn't you? That is correct. And then I also played the Aegis Theme one of ours, so the Heavy Cardboard XL map.
So we played the Netherlands map together, yeah? And there were a total of 7 of us, including the Chads and Jeroen.
The Chads and the Jeroen.
Yeah, right. I guess that is the Jeroen, right? From Splotter, who made the long flight, as well as a number of other folks that came in from, let's see, we had Austrians in the house. We had Holland. We had Canada well represented. We had the UK with Kat and all over the country as well.
It was awesome.
It was a really, really good time. On top of all that, we got to break the big news about the second edition of Wildcatters, which I've had to sit on since before Essen of last year, but I'm finally glad we could let that cat out of the bag. So that and the Climbers both coming out later this year. And of course, can't have the Climbers
without Neue Heimat.
Right. And Neue Heimat's going to be sometime mid next year. That's really, really exciting.
Yes, it is.
I am super stoked about that.
Yeah, me too.
We unveiled the 2016 Golden Elephant Award and
for the first time, we had the Heavy Cardboard Golden Elephant Award voted on by the people.
Yeah, the People's Choice, which consisted of our Patreon supporters as well as HeavyCon attendees. So we had about 300 people being able to vote on that. And congratulations, obviously, to 1822, the Railways of Great Britain, for the Golden Elephant Award, and Simon Cupforth. And we had Scott Peterson from All Aboard Games there. So he accepted it on Simon's behalf temporarily.
Yes.
Simon doesn't get it until he actually comes and gets it, whether it's at Essen, the UK Game Expo, or HeavyCon. He's got to come and get it to get it.
Right.
And
we're not mailing that thing.
No. And I'm not going to allow anyone else to hand it over. I mean, it's our award,
exactly.
Right? And on top of that, as you mentioned, the People's Choice Golden Elephant Award went to Tramways and Albin Viard, which was really exciting. 2 votes. A 2-vote difference from 300 people. A 2-vote difference between that and the Colonists. So it was a pretty close year for those two.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Speaking of Albin Viard.
Yes. Albin designed a Denver map for Tramways, an expansion map for Tramways that was in the swag bags.
Right. For HeavyCon.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a little surreal.
Yeah.
And he's the one who messaged me about it.
It was
he was
his
like,
idea.
Hey, I would like to support the con. Can I do this? Yes, Albin.
Yes,
you can.
Yes, you can.
So normally it's pretty cool to see like your city on a map or a board in a game you're playing or a game you see playing and you're like, ooh, I want that. That's cool, right? Our house is on this.
It's a little different, yeah.
That's surreal.
Yeah.
It really is the most appropriate word, I feel like, for, that was just really, really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt even made his route to work in one of the plays
of
it, which, again, that's just weird.
Yeah.
But really cool. So thank you, Albin. Every attendee got a game or multiple games thanks to the amazing support that we had from publishers, designers, and accessory companies. So you guys are going to have to forgive us and indulge us, but here's the list. Y'all ready?
Let's go.
So first off, a massive thank you to Clay over at Capstone Games, because he not only supported the con, but he actually sponsored the con.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of the swag that we were able to provide that much better. So really big thanks to Capstone Games. Thank you very, very much, Clay.
All right. So now in alphabetical order, let's get to the rest. So we got Academy Games, Ape Games, AV Studio Games,
which is Albin.
Right. Board and Dice, the Board Game Group, The Broken Token, Cephalofair, CGE, Columbia Games,
DeVere, Eagle Griffin Games, Fowers Games, Game Surplus, of course, GMT, of course, the Haunted Games Cafe, which is a local board game friendly local board game store here in Fort Collins, just about an hour north of us. That's where we go and celebrate and try and raise money for Extra Life every year. Hollandspiel, Nightworks, Level 99 Games, Lonnie Orgler of Lonnie Games, Luda Creations, Mayday Games, Meeple Realty, Meeple Source, Mercury Games, Meridiano 6, Mind Clash, Passport Game Studio, Phalanx Games, Renegade Games, R&R, Roxley,
Spiel Pro, Spielworks, Splotter Spellen, Stronghold Games, Surprise Stare, Talon Strike Studio, Tasty Minstrel Games, Terra Nova Games,
Ultra Pro, Victory Point Games, What's Your Game, and Wormwood Gaming.
Woo!
So, yeah, that was a incredible outpouring of support for our little convention. So we really, really appreciate everybody that went the extra mile.
Yeah.
We definitely recommend supporting all of them. They help support us. We support them. Everyone drives home in a Cadillac, right?
Yes, or a Honda.
Or a Honda. So with that said, we actually reached out to a bunch of folks and we did a handful of interviews while we were there at HeavyCon. So here in the next, hour or so, you're going to be hearing from a bunch of folks, whether it's different podcasters or Jason Dinger, Jeroen Doumen, or Scott Peterson from All Aboard Games. So enjoy the interviews and enjoy the segments that everybody recorded.
All right, I'm back day 4, HeavyCon 2017. Happy to be joined by the publisher, the man behind All Aboard Games, Scott Peterson. So Scott, thanks for joining me.
Okay, you're welcome. Glad to finally get a chance to meet you at HeavyCon. Just can't wait to keep talking about the games.
Yeah, this is very cool. I'm excited about it because there's not a lot of behind the scenes stuff when it comes, especially to this aspect of the hobby with the train games, the 18XX side of things. So let's start off with real simple. What got you into the hobby? Not train games specifically, in the hobby in general.
Yeah, so I guess about 10 years ago, my brother, I think, was he had played Settlers of Catan, and he was telling me about it, and basically between finding the online, I guess it was like a application of it, and like testing that out, and then going to local game group, I just hit the ground running. And I remember maybe I found out about it on a Sunday and watched a Board Games with Scott video about Power Grid on Monday, and then went to game group on Tuesday, and we played Power Grid, and then it's off the races after that. And then, of course, Power Grid to all the Euro games, to Age of Steam and Winsome and 18XX. And I would say the transition between the computer game Settlers of Catan to 18XX was 6 months or something like that.
Oh, wow, that's a massively fast evolution.
Yeah, and then it's just kind of, and then it's just the spectrum has shifted more to 18XX, after that.
So what's the appeal for you for 18XX games?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like a repetitive system where I don't need to learn lots of new rules, and every game tells a story. Like you start with a blank board, and by the end of the game, you have this map that everyone has worked to construct the map in an interesting way, and there's, it's not boring how the game is constructed. Every tile lay is like a little mini war about who's going to get to what city first, and by the end of it, you have a map that tells the whole story of what happened in the game.
Very cool. So how did All Aboard Games come about? So you go from, oh wow, Settlers of Catan to 18XX like that.
Yeah.
And then now All Aboard Games has come about. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think the main thing was that I like to print and play games, and at that time there weren't a lot of 18XX games. At that time you could just buy the Deep Thought games and get them pretty quickly.
But that time has since gone.
Well, and has returned now.
Yes, it has. It has.
But at that time, the Mark Derrick one-state games, I would say were pretty popular, and those were like go-to recommendations for people who wanted to learn 18xx. So 18GA, 18AL, and then there would be people who would say, you maybe don't want to start with those, but there were a lot of people that were recommending starting with those kind of as a simple game to get into it. So printing and playing those games, and the files that were online were actually really basic components, and I like doing graphic design stuff, and my wife kind of helps with graphic design stuff too when I need that extra polish. And basically, I saw these basic games and was like, well, I could make them into something that would be a little more polished and a little more commercially viable. But hey, if I do that on my own, I'm just making one copy or maybe making one for a friend, and it's maybe not really worth it. So I remember like one of the first things I did was make new tokens for 1860. So people, I can't remember the exact problem. Maybe they were misaligned or something like that. But people were kind of interested in that, and I sold, I don't know, maybe 10 of them, just a sheet of token labels for people to sticker 1860. And I was like, like the next step on, and was I contacted Ian Wilson, and he said I could reprint 1861. That was out of print. That one got the two printings, the manufactured printings, and then was out of print. And was of course all these games sell for $1 million once they're out of print. So find a way to get these games back into print. And so like what I've done is kind of a combination of reprints and original games. So it's maybe about half and half.
So how long ago did All Aboard Games start up?
I think it was about 2011.
Okay.
And so the way it started was I was basically manufacturing games for Deep Thought Games, and at that time it was more like what Jeff from Golden Spike Games was doing, and just fulfilling orders off the backlog. And basically once, so I did that to a small extent, but then maybe about a year later or somewhere in that time frame, I also started 1861, and then kind of got rolling and with that, and then just didn't have time to fulfill off the backlog. But now I have more time, and there was a demand for like getting the orders right away. So, and basically the costs for those games are kind of fixed back from 2006. They didn't really escalate with the cost of materials.
Right.
What's on the website. So the prices that are with basically you pay a 20% premium to buy the Deep Thought games now, but basically, in my opinion, those prices have actually scaled with the cost of materials, whereas I would say that the costs on the Deep Thought website are a little bit artificially low right now. So I know that not many orders are getting fulfilled off the queue, so I don't have a lot of insight into that, but
how did that partnership come about? If you could talk a little bit about that with you and John Tamplin from Deep Thought.
Yeah, basically, I just, like I said, I like to do print and play, and I remember I was printing things off my inkjet printer, or maybe printing a few files where I could off a laser printer, and I wanted to get some better equipment, and so like basically one thing was like, well, if I want to get better equipment, let's find a way to make a little profit off of it, and the Deep Thought partnership there was kind of a natural thing. John had already set it up with Jeff from Golden Spike Games, and he basically just gave me the same contract and changed the name, and then we were both doing that same kind of fulfillment.
Okay.
And, until basically All Aboard Games got kind of going, more consistently, where basically that was taking up all my time, and those I was charging what I would say like kind of more of the market rate, like what's charged now. Although I haven't raised my prices at all since I started, so it's kind of maybe I should someday, but for now they're going to stay put. So.
Okay. So you talked about how you started out with Deep Thought Games, and then you got 1861. And how do you go about getting these other games? Like, how do you find out about them? How do you get these relationships, and how do you publish these new games or games that aren't being published other places?
Yeah, there's no consistent way to do it. With 1861, it was kind of like a cold call. Hey, what about this? And he said yes, and I was shocked. And it was, to me, actually, it was like as shocking as the event this weekend, which I don't know how that fits in with how your podcasts order, but basically 1822 winning the
Golden Elephant Award from 2016.
I was shocked that he was going to let me reprint this, and to me it was like a huge responsibility to get it right. And we worked back and forth a lot on just making sure we got it all right. And that had the advantage of already being out, so we were able to integrate some of those questions that had been answered. Then Heartspawn 1873, that was one that I played. Basically when I was first getting into the hobby, I went to Chattanooga, Rail Gaming, and I played.
And that's Mark Derrick's event, right?
Right. And I played that with Mike Monaco from Portland, and basically he had kind of seen a German version. He did his own translation and posted some basic files online, and I played that and thought it was kind of an interesting thing and should get that level of polish, like I was mentioning. And I just again kind of asked if that would be okay. With all these kind of things, it's like the designer kind of is interested in taking it as far as they can, and then after that they're looking for someone to do that next level.
Okay.
Because so there's some people who have a wide variety of skills, and some people are just kind of interested in the design part. So again, it's just kind of like I saw the prototype, thought I could spruce it up, and the same thing with rolling stock. Although I didn't actually change rolling stock much, but I was seeing people that one was available for print and play, and I saw people were printing out. I would say kind of a little bit crude copies of it, and they were getting it from the online card sellers, and basically they were paying about the same as I was charging, but kind of overpaying for certain things and not really getting a full complete package because they were cobbling it together from different places. So I wanted to offer that.
And I saw this weekend that you're coming out with a second edition or a updated version of Rolling Stock.
Yeah, so it's currently called, and I think it's going to be called Rolling Stock Stars. And basically, it's a little bit more streamlined version of Rolling Stock, which takes some of the bookkeeping out of the game and focuses it rather than offering all the different lengths of game. It's just kind of the short game. So it's basically maybe an entry point into Rolling Stock, although many people would not call it an entry, any version of Rolling Stock an entry point. So.
Sure. Yeah. So what else is coming? If you have anything that is, maybe not quite ready for publication that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess the main things that are coming would be this Rolling Stock Stars should be later this year. And Steve Thomas and Chris Lawson designed the one true 1848, if you've heard of that. There's many 1848s, but that was the first one.
All right.
And that's a redevelopment of that 1869 Golden Spike game. It was called the Golden Spike, not affiliated with Jeff Hoy or the
Understood,
Golden Spike
right.
games. So anyway, that's big map, lots of interesting chrome on that, and basically that's kind of been in the hopper for a couple years, but I just haven't been able to get to it. And what it's going to come down to is rewriting the rules, and that is always the hardest part of working with these games. Is just in that case, basically we have half the rules done, and then the other half needs to be developed.
Okay.
And then I should also mention 18 USA, which is an expansion by Sean Fox and his friends for 1817. So I saw that also. So that's a good match. And then the 18 EU, there's a variant, a minor power variant, and I haven't actually played it, but I'm gonna play it a bunch over the summer and basically spruce it up, and it'll be like a $5 variant.
Nice.
For EU.
Okay. I know a lot of people are been talking up 18. Excuse me. 18 USA for 1817. A lot of people sound pretty excited about that, and 1817 being the big financial side 18XX game. So I'm curious, do you have a preference on the type of 18XX game that you enjoy?
Yeah, new prototypes, right? I mean, that's kind of what I usually end up playing, and basically once a game is published, I am not a great player, but I'll kind of I'll play whatever game is on the table, but I do like the ones that have little tricks and not necessarily the strictly run good companies games, but something that has just a little bit of extra Chrome or interest in it, I like. So like 18 Ireland, I really like because it just seems like it's so flexible in merging the minor companies, and I've seen a lot of people like I know I was really happy to see that there were 2 games of it to start off that convention here, and then it's been played throughout the weekend too, along with 1822
Yep.
and 1849. So it's just very rewarding to see the games that I was working on in my basement actually get played, and I might be sitting down at a table and I look all around me, and basically it's games that were in my basement at one point.
That's got to feel good, man. That's got to
definitely.
be really exciting. So I would be remiss if we did not spend a little bit of time talking about the 2016 Golden Elephant Award winner, which is 1822. So how did that come to be? How did you and Simon Cutforth pair up, and how did that game come to fruition?
Yeah, and so I guess it's maybe a quarter of the games are kind of that customers are asking these questions. Hey, what's coming? Hey, have you looked at this? And in this case, Bob LeCoyer, I think, was the one. He's in Canada, and he had been playing it on Cyberboard with Simon and Simon's friends.
And Cyberboard being an online implementation, right? To be able to play 18xx games, right?
Right. Yep. You email files to each other.
Sure.
And or use Dropbox or whatever. And he was kind of just pecking at me like, hey, take a look at this game. This game is awesome. Please publish this game. And he was doing his own print and play stuff on it, and just kind of wanted someone to take it the extra level. So Simon was all for it, and it was super easy, and it was fun working with Simon to get the rules in shape, because basically he sent me a Word file that had basically just had all the rules that he'd been working through, and every time he play tested something, he'd just add a rule in. But it takes the extra level of getting the formatting down and trying to make sure everything is crystal clear. And
sure.
Basically I can do that to the extent that I can do it by play testing with my group. But that's where I came in, and I'm super happy with basically I will bring games, and my friends, would buy a copy. And I go to the game store maybe once every other week or once a month. And when I come and they play the game, and they play for maybe a month or 2 at a time, and then they go back to something else, 1856, 1870. But with 1822, I'd come, and just every week they would have 1822 out. And then I went to Chattanooga, and tables full of 1822, and I was thinking, okay, this game is different, and I didn't realize it at the time. I had no idea, and to be honest, I know people like the auctions and Eurogame part of it.
Yep.
I think there's probably people who like how you get to build a big map like you do in those big C2C or OE games.
Or OE, right?
So I think that's part of it too. So it's kind of like it's got it all, and I know, and like one thing that I think really helped the game is that Simon offered many different scenarios, and so he was really excited about including all those scenarios. And you could play this one if you've only got like a weeknight, 5 hours to play or something like that. And I said, let's just hold off. Let's offer the best version of this game, and we can put out the scenarios later, and give everybody the best way to play this game. And we did, and basically that's what everybody plays. I haven't heard of many people playing the shorter scenarios because they want that full experience, even if they can't finish it in the full, in a weeknight.
Right, or leave it on the table to be able to play it a second night and everything. So it came as a surprise to you how big the response has been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I am terrible at judging these things, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not a good publisher when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, basically like when it comes out, I have my copies, and we play the copies basically when I bring them, and if I can get people to play, we play them. But I'd like to expand play. That's something I'd kind of always wanted to do. But hey, just making the games is like the fact that I do the whole process, soup to nuts, really does take a lot of time. And I'm not only the developer and printer and retailer and distributor, and it's just like, to some extent, you kind of need to be all of that to make such a small run profitable.
Sure.
But it does take a lot of time, and then I wish I had more time to spend on that stuff.
All right. So Your favorite 18xx game? Either one that you publish and one that is not a Scott Peterson All Aboard Games game.
Yeah, I would say right now it's Ireland, and I'm not trying to shill for Ireland.
No,
but I do. So
it's got a huge following here in Denver, so I understand that.
Yeah, what I really like about 18xx games especially is that first part of basically first half of the game until you buy the 5 train or permanent train, and Ireland, it's just like that phase of the game just never ends until the end of the game, and it may sometimes you don't even get to the permanent train. So. To me, like that's the one, and then, but there are some people who just don't like to play it. Like I have one friend who wants to run his own company, and so he starts out with a 5-share company, and if he gets that stolen away because it gets merged into another company, even though it's sometimes it's kind of bad to do that, that just drives him nuts. He will not play that game. So
very much let me do my own thing type guy. Gotcha.
Yep. And then 1817 would be the game that I would just love to play more and more of. But again, it just kind of comes down to time and the people who are there to play it. So right now, I just haven't had enough time to play that game. But like that has always been my favorite game since it came out, since I was playtesting it. I even playtested it with my friends without shorts, just because some of them didn't like the shorting aspect. Although I know that is the core of the game.
Sure.
Just that having that fear of being shorted.
Right.
So it still can be played without shorts, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But hey, if you can't get anybody else to play it,
getting it to the table however you need to, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations again on the Golden Elephant Award win. And looking forward to seeing what comes down the road here soon.
Okay. Thanks much.
All right. Thanks. Good morning, y'all. It's Edward. Day 4 of HeavyCon, the final day on Sunday. It's early in the morning, so bear with both of us sounding like frogs, but I'm happy to be joined by a good friend of mine, as well as up-and-coming designer, Jason Dinger. So, Jason, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jason got his first design signed with Uli from Spielworks, Captains of the Gulf. So before we get into captains, since you're new to this game, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
I'm from a small town in Louisiana called Morgan City, and where shrimp boat fishing is our livelihood. And my wife and I, on a bad week, play about 8 to 12 hours of heavy games. And heavy cardboard has been a big inspiration, and in both our gaming and my design life.
That's flattering. I appreciate that, man. So what got you into board games? What got you into to designing in general?
Our youngest child is 22, and we realized a couple years ago that Friday nights meant the TV was playing a rerun we'd already seen 3 times. She's sitting 3 feet away from me on the couch. We're playing on our phones and not really hanging out.
Right.
And I saw an artist that I followed say that he was doing artwork for a new board game. What is that? There's no new board games, new version of Monopoly. I looked into it and discovered this amazing world of board games, and we started, of course, like everyone, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne.
Sure, right.
And got into Dominant Species.
That sounds a lot like me.
Did not understand one aspect. It was a little lost on dominance versus dominating, and searched YouTube and found this video, an older video, with a guy named Edward Euler, and production not quite as good as it is now.
No.
And he explained the game really well. And this guy is a really good teacher. I want to see what else I can learn from him, because I'm enjoying these heavy games now. And wow, heavy cardboard. Let's listen to that. Oh, and an entire world opened up. And our collection now is about 150 to 170 games. And every one of them we discovered through heavy cardboard and punching cardboard, which we discovered punching cardboard from heavy cardboard.
That's cool, man. I'm sure Jim will be happy to hear that. Yeah. So what got you into designing, though? I mean, because not everybody comes into the hobby, gets into it, plays games, and all of a sudden, hey, I want to design something.
I never had any intention to be a designer. I had friends. I wear 2 hats where I work, small municipality, and both jobs are very math heavy, and people would say, you play a lot of these games, you do a lot of work. Have you ever thought about designing them? No, I can't do that, man. That's not I don't have that in me. You know, I don't have that level of creativity, and those guys are, you know, the things that they do. I just don't have the confidence to think I can do that. And February 16th, 2016, Valentine's Day, our kids were going doing things, and we cooked a meal, we ate, we cleaned the kitchen, we sat down, we played Agricola, Le Havre, 1 or 2 other games, we went to bed. Midnight, I woke up from a very vivid dream of us playing this board game, running shrimp boats in our hometown, and I saw it. I saw the multi-use cars, I saw the golf, I saw everything, and furiously texted all the ideas to myself before I'd forget. Went back to bed, woke up the next morning, made a really crude prototype, played it a week later, it was very broken. The math was way off, but it felt like there was something there. It was kind of fun, and I asked my wife, I said, you think we should do this? And she said, I think there's something there. And from the get-go, the mindset, the goal, the drive was to get this out of my head, because it was just obsessive. It was all I could think about. And then secondly, to have something she and I could enjoy. And as I designed the game, that's all I was trying to do, was build what we like to play. The Spielworks, the What's Your Game, that's our favorite companies. And I was just trying to build a game that made us feel the way we feel when we play those games.
All right. So you want to talk about Captains of the Gulf then?
The short explanation of Captains of the Gulf is it's a rondel action selection, multi-use card, engine building, economic game with pick up and deliver, a dual layered area majority, with a race aspect on a track. There's more to it, but that's the short answer.
And it's all about?
It's all about running shrimp boats in the Gulf of Mexico, which my grandfather did. I worked not running a shrimp boat, but building them at one point in my life with my father-in-law, welding the hulls of 55-foot long steel hull shrimp boats.
So how did development of, okay, so you got this game that you wrote down, you said it's broken, this and that. What was that process from there to, hey, I got this signed?
It was literally a dream come true, and figuratively, because talking to other designers, this isn't normally the way things happen, and it's still very surreal for me. The game was initially just a card game, an economic card game with money. You played a card to take this action. The actions were still there, but it did not have a large board. It had a very small little area. There was no area majority. There were no tracks. The multi-use cards were always there. The engine building was always there. And my design motto is fail faster. I want to know what's broken so I can fix it. Your designs are, they're special to you, but I also see it as I started with this block of clay, and I'm slowly taking pieces off and adding pieces to it. And that's fascinating to me. When I play, we've got over 130 play tests now from 2 to 4 players. And when we play, if I can find something that's maybe not even broken, but just not as good as it could be, that excites me. I can see where I can get better. I don't get down when something's bad. I know where I can improve now, and that excites me. So the game, I'm not going to go through every iteration, but in those 130 play tests, there's probably been 100 versions of the game. Some major changes, some small changes, and as it's grown, I will say Andreas Oda is my developer, and before this relationship began, he was a big inspiration to me. And he the way his designs, you can never do everything you want to do.
Sure, yeah.
You're seeing it build as you're playing, and all that. The way his games make me feel is how I want my game to make me and other people feel. So that said, on Twitter, I'll post pictures of other games I would play, and board games are therapy for me. I won't go into the long story of it, but due to things of my childhood, I've dealt with depression when I was younger, and board games have been the best medicine. Just to sit there with my wife and I and get lost in the game, win or lose, I don't care.
Sure,
Just
it's all about the enjoyment of the experience as well as the trying to win, but if it doesn't work out, so
exactly. And that said, so I would go on Twitter, and this is a game I learned about from at Heavy Cardboard, and I want to give credit where credit's due, and the designers, the publishers, the artists, the reviewers, you're all very special to me because you provide something to me. And so in doing that, I connected with a lot of people. Ben Pinchback is one of them, a designer of Fleet, Morocco, many other great games, and he saw a picture I put up of Captains of the Gulf playtest, what's that? It's just this little thing I'm doing. He goes, I designed a game about fishing boats. I want to try that out.
Right.
And we have Fleet. We love Fleet, which I got to make sure I wasn't reinventing the wheel.
Right. Just to make sure it wasn't that game, right?
And we love Fleet, but it is quite different from Captains. And so Ben got the copy. He played it. He put a picture up on Twitter afterwards and raved about it. He loved it. And that was really special. I saw that. This guy I look up to, this designer, I love his games. And I went to bed just on cloud 9. I wake up the next morning, thankfully I was already taking a vacation day because I would not have been able to go to work and function that day. And my Twitter followers had doubled, and this little conversation had grown, and reviewers are asking, where could I miss this at Essen? This was around November this past year.
Right.
Where can I get a copy of this? And no, this is Jason's prototype, but it's going to get signed. And I smiled and said he's being nice.
Sure.
And so I go to make a pot of coffee. Twitter notifications go off. I go look. Got a message from Uli Blenneman from Spielworks. Hey, do you have a copy of that I can try out? Called my wife immediately. She was at work and told her, and she said, what'd you tell him? I said, nothing, I called you. You moron. Hang up with me and tell him. So I responded, yes, sir, I'll get a prototype made for you, because I hand make all my prototypes like most designers, in my living room, and sent it to him, and didn't expect anything, but was just honored that one of my favorite publishers would want to try it out.
That's cool.
And 2 months later, I got a message, hey, we played the game. I'd like to offer you a contract if that's okay. And Andreas Odendahl is going to be the developer along with Uli. And it's all been, like I said, just a dream come true. I designed this game. If I would have put it online as a free print and play, except it takes the entire table up. I don't know who wants to print a massive game like that. And I would have just put it out and just said, hey, if anybody wants to enjoy it, have at it. I designed it for us. That anything else happens with the game,
is gravy.
That's
on
exactly
top, right. Yeah. Very cool. So, timeline on this? Do you have one?
Tentatively, we're looking at Essen 2018.
Okay.
Obviously, as things progress, and they progress pretty fast in the development, with Oda and I work really well together. It's been amazing. I liken us to sculptors, and he's a journeyman. I'm an apprentice. And we go back and forth, and we as we discuss things. So that has made development move smoothly and quickly. Because as Oda said, the game is there. We want to see if we can put 5% of polish on it. And that's what he and I have done. The prototype that you originally got was what Uli got.
Right.
What you played this weekend is that 5% of polish on it.
Gotcha.
And I'm really happy with where it is. And I say that humbly, but with where it is now. So the plan, tentatively, is to have everything done as far as polish and ready for Harold Leesky, who is one of my favorite artists in the board game world. He's amazing, to take over and design the punch boards and all the art.
Sure, right. All the back end stuff.
Right.
On
that, and starting in January 2018.
Cool.
Now, as schedules move, we never know.
Everything's written in sand. Understood. All right. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I played it. Jim, Punch and Cardboard played it. A whole bunch of people have been playing it throughout the weekend. And all the feedback I've been hearing, man, has been really positive. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to it. And, Jim was like, wow, this is better than game X or Y. He leaned over and was telling me that. So that was cool. And I was excited to check it out for the simple fact that I've seen this evolution of the game. And that's not a side of the hobby that I normally see, because obviously I have zero interest in designing games. And so I can see a lot of late versions of prototypes, but I don't see the evolution, like how it started and how it got from point A to point, 3, point Q, point 5, right? So no, it's been cool to follow along. I'm glad you got a chance to come out to HeavyCon. Glad I got a chance to finally meet y'all, as well as play the game. So I'm really looking forward to it. So cool. Anything else? Or I should ask, actually, just because you got this, signed, sealed, and soon to be delivered in the next year and a half or so, what's next?
I've got a bunch of games in the pipeline you work on and get them to a point.
So you go from, I have no interest in gaming to where or no interest in designing to all of a sudden.
I've got 10 games in the pipeline right now. And all of them are being designed for us to enjoy. Again, that is my motivation, and I feel that there's so little stress with that design mindset, and there's a certain sincerity in the design because I'm just making what we want to enjoy. And I think most designers do that, and then you can see it in the games. And so that said, we've got a bunch of little ones that I'll work on for a little bit as I take a break to let my brain rest from working heavy in Captains of the Golf, and then maybe I'll start on another one as inspiration hits, or I'll pick another one up and polish it. My next big game is called La Guerra. It means the war in Spanish. The full name is La Guerra, Fight for the Spanish Republic. It's based on the Spanish Civil War. It's a 2-player. Will eventually be asymmetrical. I'm designing it not asymmetrical originally, and once I get all the base mechanics ironed out in the basic math, then I'll start introducing some asymmetry in there. Play about an hour. There's a rondelle. I love rondelles. I believe Shipyard has 5 rondelles. Captains of the Golf has 6. That wasn't on purpose. I didn't realize that until after the game was signed and someone else mentioned it. So apparently I just am a rondelle lover.
All right.
And so it does have a unique rondelle of cards where you're taking a card from the rondelle. Could be good, could be bad. Has cubes on it that you're using to pay for actions, deploying troops. Has combat in it, similar to colonialism. And bit long to describe here, but it's been in design for about a week. And we've got a play testable version right now with 40 unique cards, and so I'm hoping it. Andreas Ondal, again, Oda, he gave me back 5 pages of feedback a few months ago, and he goes, "Look, there's a lot
on Captains.
on Captains of the Golf."
Okay,
and because we'll go back and forth. He'll take a week. He'll work on things. He'll say, "Hey, check this out."
Right.
I'll work on it for a week or 2 and give it to him, and we'll go back and forth. And he said, there's some things in here I want you to look at. Some of it's a long list. You're not going to have a prototype tomorrow. Hold that. If anybody will, it's you. And so, like I said, we play a lot of games, and I can't help the way my brain works. When I say that this game just took over my soul and I had to get it out, that's how it is when I'm working on anything. So when I start, the game is growing very quickly. And but again, I like to get it to the table and have it fail, have it break, see what we can fix, and go. So hopefully, maybe I'll have something for La Guerra in a week or 2 that we can.
That's crazy. So it sounds like that there was this untapped thing inside you. You pulled the plug with Captains, and now you can't shut it off.
The floodgates are open, and I have no control.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I'm excited to see what's coming next. I'm excited to see the artwork and how things progress with Captains, as well as what else you come up with. So, cool, man. We'll travel home safe.
Thank you.
And hopefully we see you again before next HeavyCon.
That we want to try to plan a trip up here. The thing about HeavyCon, the games were great. The people were amazing.
Yep. That's my goal with running a convention. The games are secondary. It's all about the people. So, cool, man. Well, thanks a lot. And I'll be definitely keeping an eye on you and see how things go, man.
Thank you very
Congrats.
much. Thanks again.
All right. Hey, y'all. It's Edward. Here it is, the Monday after HeavyCon, and we're over at Tony Fryer's house, old co-host of mine, and happy to be joined by Jeroen Doumen of Splotter Spellen, friend of ours and attendee of HeavyCon. So, Jeroen, thanks for taking a few minutes.
Yep, happy to be here. Happy to have been at HeavyCon. It always feels a bit weird to have HeavyCon at the Memorial Day weekend and not have it at Memorial Day.
Oh, right. Yeah. With it, Memorial Day being today, being on Monday. Yeah, no doubt. So, how was it for you? I mean, I realize it's kind of a loaded question because you're not going to be like, man, it was terrible. To me, I understand that. But how was it?
Of course,
how was your time?
I always enjoy it. I mean, I don't get to play too much 18xx games at home. My friends indulge me once every while, but
cool.
So I played a lot of those, played a lot of Ransom, so enjoyed it again, more than last year.
Oh, awesome! What made it more so this year?
Well, I'll give you one guess.
The space?
No. No Ubers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. And anyone who's listened to the show, going back to last year, understand what happened with Joris and Uber and the unfortunate situation there. But yeah, so good. I'm glad to hear you had a good time. You're flying out later on today, right?
Yeah, flying out 6 p.m.
Okay, cool. All right, so I figure the two big questions that everyone's going to want me to ask, so I feel obligated to ask about them. So, Antiquity supposed to be reprinted this year. What's going on with that?
So we're currently looking at what exactly we want to change, and especially given what happened with the wooden piece in Indonesia last year, we're triple checking everything.
So what?
So that's also why there's no pre-order up yet, because we're still getting prices from suppliers, getting preview pieces in, making sure everything works, etc. So essentially, what we're looking at changing is it's probably going to be an A4 size box, essentially like Food Chain, but a higher one, because otherwise not all the stuff fits in.
Sure, no doubt, because there's a ton of components in
exactly.
Antiquity.
And we might be doing plastic discs or the tiddlywinks for pollution markers instead of cardboard, so that stacks a little bit more easily. And a few little graphics updates just to pull the fish and the shells a bit more apart graphically, so you can see what's what better, etc.
But at its core, it's going to stay the same, correct?
It's going to stay exactly the same. It's only some component upgrades, but
okay.
Given what happened with Indonesia, we're a bit more careful on making sure everything works.
Live and learn, right? I mean,
exactly.
because before Food Chain Magnet, you guys were still pretty niche. I mean, very much so. And now that Food Chain has blown up, there's more eyes on you. And with what happened on Indonesia,
definitely, yeah, I'd say we're still pretty niche, but
oh, no doubt. But it's a lot more recognizable.
Yeah,
right?
No, definitely.
And what was it you were telling me about when people came to your booth? Last year at Essen.
That was great last year at Essen, because we had people. You're that new company, right? Oh wow, you've got 2 new games this year.
With those 2 new games, obviously being Indonesia and Great Zimbabwe.
Exactly.
So how have the sales been on both of those?
Oh, quite good. So Zimbabwe sold out already, but we made a little bit less of those than Indonesia. I think we have still a few in Indonesia in stock, but not terribly much.
All right. So is that all she wrote as far as Great Zimbabwe for the foreseeable future?
I think so for now, unless we get huge demand in. I think essentially it's very easy for us. We will do a reprint if we see enough demand out there, and we have enough time to make it happen. Because I mean, obviously it takes work.
Sure, no doubt. And speaking of time, you got obviously Antiquity, and you guys are still looking at Essen timeframe if everything plays out right.
Definitely. I hope to have it earlier, so somewhere September-ish, but I have no clue yet. We're mainly looking at prices now, not yet exactly supply timeframes.
Okay, all right, cool. And also taking up some of your time when Joris isn't traveling around for his day job,
or I'm not,
or you're not for that matter. Everyone's gonna ask, so you know I need to. 2018, the mystery game. I know you. I'm not sure if it was you or yours.
It was me this time.
You, teasing out the pictures of things. So give us anything that you got.
Well, I'm not giving out too much yet, because mainly there isn't too much giving out. We're still working out mechanisms, just playing around, seeing if we can get something nice that's going to be fun yet that we can create a game with.
Okay.
I mean, there's no game yet.
Okay, so it's just like when we had talked a couple of times previous, you had mentioned that the way you guys design is you'll try this, figure out what doesn't work, what does, and then build a game around that. So you're still at that stage?
Yeah, we're still at that stage. So often, exactly as you say, what we start with is trying out some mechanisms. So if we move stuff around like this, does that flow nicely? Does it take up way too much time to move everything around, like happened on early Zimbabwe things? I mean, we would have needed to clone me and ship me in every box to make that part work.
All right.
But yeah, we're still at that stage.
Okay, so there's no theme yet. There's no definitive mechanics yet, and there's no overarching picture that you guys have yet for it?
Not really. Well, we have a theme in the back of our mind, but that's so liable to change that I'm not going to share that yet.
That's fair. Understandable. All right, so I guess the next time that you and I will touch base, I guess, is at Essen, right? So even if...
Probably Essen, unless it's earlier.
Okay, awesome. Let me ask you this. If something were to come about, God forbid, that Antiquity's not ready for Essen, will you guys still have a booth there?
Yeah, we will have the booth.
Okay.
I mean, the booth is already paid for and everything, so...
Cool. All right. Well, hopefully, maybe I can bother you guys at Essen and maybe be able to get some more information, find out how things went with Antiquity, as well as maybe you guys are at a point to where you can let a little bit out of the bag as far as what's coming next year.
Yeah, I hope at Essen we'll have a playable prototype, but I'm not sure that it will be far enough yet.
Okay.
But
cool.
I sincerely hope so. I mean, we should have something.
All right. Good. Well, I'm happy or excited to hear about that, as I'm sure everyone listening at home will be as well. So cool. I know you guys are busting out 1831 upstairs, and I'm just kind of hanging out with y'all. So let's go ahead and head back and get to it. So thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right.
Hey, everybody. This is Adrian with the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast, and I'm here with a little bit of a HeavyCon recap for y'all. Going to talk about some of the games I played, people I met, and fun times I had. So sit back and enjoy. So this was my first HeavyCon, despite it being the third HeavyCon, and I have lived in Denver for 5 years and been board gaming out here. Unfortunately, I somehow managed to not be aware of HeavyCon until it was too late to go last year. So I rectified that this year, and it will be definitely on my calendar from here on out because, wow, HeavyCon is amazing. Sorry to everybody who couldn't make it for rubbing that salt in the wound, but yeah, it was a whole bunch of fun. My HeavyCon started on Wednesday evening. I helped organize a little HeavyCon meet and greet / board game event at a local brewery there near the hotel, Peak to Peak Tap House. And so we had, 40, 50 people show up there. A couple games got played. I played Indonesia. People had some drinks, had a good time, got to kind of unwind from their travel and flights in and get ready to turn around for a 4-day weekend of heavy board gaming. Unfortunately, I had to miss the next day, Thursday, because I had work and life, but I was there bright and early Friday to kick things off. I played my 3 games, I think, on Friday. One of the ones that was new to me, I got to try Reef Encounter, which was interesting. The only other 2 games I got to play on Friday was a 3-era Colonists where we simulated the first era. So we played 2, 3, and 4. That was the first time I'd played into the 3rd and 4th eras. I really enjoyed it. I liked the simulating. I thought that made some interesting decisions trying to build your starting colony. And I was talking to Travis from Low Player Count afterwards, and he suggested even simulating all 3 of the first eras and just playing the 4th era for a particularly heavy, interesting game that plays much quicker. So I want to try that out sometime. And then finally, to round out that day, I taught Food Chain Magnate to 3 different people in a 5-player game. It was a really awesome game. I love Food Chain Magnate. It's easily one of my favorite games right now. One of the people I got to teach it to was Alex from Eagle Griffin Games, which was pretty cool. I got to play actually a whole bunch of games with him over the weekend, which was the other kind of highlight of Friday, was actually getting to meet all the people there. Like I mentioned, I got to talk to Travis from Low Player Count. Got to meet him for the first time there. Got to meet Brandon from Brawling Brothers, Alex from Eagle Griffin, saw Ambie from Board Game Blitz. Didn't get to meet her until later in the weekend. Same with Jim from Punching Cardboard and a bunch of those. Got to meet Jeroen from Splotter. So Friday, that was kind of it, playing a couple games and getting to meet a whole bunch of people. Moving on to Saturday. Saturday was the day I got to play probably my most fun game of the convention. And not necessarily the one I enjoyed the most, but absolutely the most fun. I got to play Terraforming Mars with Brandon from Brawling Brothers, Brian, Lyndon, and Dave from the Board Game Group. And man, Terraforming Mars is it's so much fun. And that was a great group to play it with. We were constantly laughing and joking and just carrying on. Had an absolute blast. Surprisingly, I ended up pulling out a victory on that one. I didn't expect to until right towards the end and kind of came around on it. Games wise, I also got to play Vinos Deluxe. Edward taught a whole bunch of us, and then I got to demo an upcoming game from Eagle Griffin that I don't know if I can talk about, so I won't. But the highlight kind of Saturday for overall enjoyment was we did a big group dinner out at a Korean barbecue that was just absolutely fantastic. Bunch of really cool people, really good food, just kind of hanging out and spending some time together, which is awesome to spend time with some like-minded individuals. And then coming around onto Sunday, the last day of the con, started off the day with a little tournament of Exit. The abandoned cabin, I believe, was the exact scenario we played. Carmen from Game Surplus brought 3 copies along, and 12 of us split up into 3 teams and competed to see who could win. And ultimately, my team ended up winning. It was me, Amanda, Scott, and Kat, which we were a solid team. We solved a whole bunch of puzzles. We finished in under an hour, and we had a score of 6 or 7. I didn't actually get to hear the final score, but then we got to go around and kind of torment the other teams a little bit while they were still finishing up. The rest of the day, I played a really brutal game of tramways. It was just the map ended up being really tight, and the way everybody kind of built out was rough. This final score, it was a 3-player game, and the final scores were all 3 within 3 points. It was like 56, 57, and 58 or something like that. But man, I like tramways. I can't wait for my copy. And then the rest of the day, I played a couple other games with some locals and stuff until my final game of the con was Kanban, which I had purchased the previous weekend at Geekway from Brandon over at What Did You Play This Week? And, continuing to love Vital Lacerda's games. I really enjoyed Kanban. I felt that in some ways it was heavier than even Vinos. I really enjoyed it. I liked the time track moving things along. That was awesome. Looking forward to more plays of that. So that's kind of like the rough overview of things. Probably not quite as interesting as I wanted this to be. That was kind of just a rote recitation. I'm not used to doing solo recordings. But overall, the con was absolutely amazing. It was fantastic getting to meet everybody. I ended up winning Gloomhaven, which I tried to trade away for other stuff, but couldn't. But not too disappointed because Gloomhaven's an amazing game. Really big, huge, heavy box, too. I'm glad nobody had to deal with trying to check that as luggage. So, it was great getting to meet a whole bunch of other podcasters and a whole bunch of other heavy gamers and try a bunch of heavy games. I got to actually see 18xx on a table. I didn't try any, wasn't brave enough this time around, but I got to look at them and kind of see what was going on there. And just a whole lot of big, heavy games and a whole lot of fun, awesome people. It was really something special, and I'm already looking forward to next year being able to go and do it all again. I get to play a fair amount of heavy games in my day-to-day, so it's not like, I know some people, HeavyCon can be kind of their one time to get to play heavy games, and I'm fortunate where that's not the case for me, but still just getting to be around so many awesome people in that kind of environment was great. So thank you, Edward and Amanda, for putting that on. Thank you for including me in it and allowing me to come join you guys. It was a huge blast, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So until next time, like I said, I've been Adrian from Mile High Game Guys, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.
Hi, this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and my husband Toby and I had a really fun time at HeavyCon this year. We got to play a lot of games. We played 22 different games, and most of them were just pickup games, which is really cool, being able to find people to play pickup games of heavy games and 18xx games. So 3 of the games we played were 18xx games. We also played a bunch of Winsome games, and we played a bunch of Euros. There were also a lot of cool prototypes there, and it was really fun being able to try them out and get taught by the designers. But it wasn't just heavy games. Someone also ran an Exit the Game tournament, which was really fun because we got to try the Exit the Game, which is one of those escape room board games. And we had a lot of fun with that. And there were also people playing Wizard, I think every day, which is a trick-taking card game. But it was really cool just being able to play games with people who enjoy similar games to you all day. We had a lot of fun at HeavyCon, meeting new people and playing games with them, and we're really looking forward to next year.
Hello, Heavy Cardboard listeners. This is Jim from the Punching Cardboard podcast. This is probably take 17 of my review, my recap of HeavyCon 2017. Edward and Amanda are asking some of us to chime in with what we thought or what we did or how it went or do we care or things like that. And the answer is yes to everything. And this is hard because I'm talking by myself. I don't know what to say. So I had planned a couple things and it just kept failing. So after about 3 hours of trying to get this little 5 to 10 minute blurb in, I'm going with HeavyCon 2017 was unbelievably awesome. And if you've listened at all to our podcast, you know how I feel about those two words. So let me backtrack a little bit. Let's go to the unbelievable. Actually, it's believable because, putting on a good convention, that's not that hard. It takes a ton of work, but people can do it. It's been done before. It'll be done again. And Edward and Amanda put in a ton of work. So I believe that this convention was really, really good based on that. Is it awesome? I'm going to stick with that word. I don't like that word. I don't use that word, but I'm going to use it for this because it is kind of awe-inspiring watching Edward and Amanda put this all together, seeing it organically come together when the people are there and they are just commingling. They are getting into games with each other, strangers becoming friends in a matter of, I would say, seconds, if not, minutes, maybe minutes, maybe an hour. It might take an hour, but it seems like everybody who sits down to a game together becomes friends. This is my second HeavyCon. This year I decided to go for the deluxe package. I came in a day early. Why not? You're taking your life in your hands when you go into DIA. And you might need that day. I mean, really, when you land, it's about a 9-mile walk to this train that takes you another 5 miles to where the luggage is, probably about 4 or 5 miles away from the exit of that train. The beauty of that is by the time you get there, your luggage is there. And then your ride is there. And my ride this year was Mark von Minden, who lives in Colorado. He's not in Denver area, but he's a little out there. He's a satellite. He's one of the smaller satellites rotating the heavy cardboard planet there. But great guy, came in, picked me up. We hit some pubs. We drank some beer. We ate some food. We talked some music. We argued some music. We argued what's better. He was wrong. I was right. He's nicer than I am, so I can say that. And then we all congregated back at the hotel later in the evening on this Wednesday before it all kicked off the next day and drank tea. Tea is what we drank for a good 4 or 5 hours. We just drank tea, 21-year-old tea, 15-year-old tea. Some of it had peat in it, some of it didn't. But we weren't getting drunk. We weren't. We really weren't. But we were enjoying ourselves. And that is the great thing about this convention is it just feels like a gathering of friends. And I don't know any of these people. I know them from meeting them at this convention, playing games with them the previous year, and then just getting back together, and it just feels like we've known each other for a lot longer than we've all known each other. And that goes for Cordero and Wilcutt and Scotty and Jason Dinger was there and a bunch of people, other people. If I don't mention your names, I apologize. I will do better when I have more time when I discuss it with Eric on my podcast. As for the gaming, you can't beat it. The library isn't huge, but it's full of games you want to play. And the games that you want to play that are in that library, they take time. So there's plenty of games on those shelves because a group pulls one off and they're going to be stuck with that game for 3 to 5 hours. There's all the train games. There's the 18XX games. There's special versions of Age of Steam with almost the size of a twister mat on 2 tables to get these big tiles out there so that you can see when you're a noob going into that game and those guys who know what they're doing crush you. It's very, very visible. As happened to me the previous year, but I enjoyed it because it was fun playing on that big map. I didn't get to do any train games this year, mostly my fault because I was socializing too much every night, and as I am 93 years old, at least according to Brandon from Brawling Brothers, I couldn't get up on the final day to get into my session of 1822. But I won't trade off the fun I had conversing with people. And And I kind of was a little subversive here. It's my fault if people are complaining about Stratomatic baseball. I know it's not a heavy game, but I brought that up. I brought that over. I brought that in. And we all threw down, several of us, a good number, dozen maybe, of us threw down for some baseball games, some dice and charts, old-fashioned, old-timey baseball. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, trash talking your teams. I got to do it. I mean, my Cubs finally win a World Series. I got to bring it. So it was nice that was okay to do that at this convention as well. We're all about the heavy games, but every once in a while it's kind of fun to just throw down something light. And the fact that this convention allows for it is a cool thing. And finally, there were several prototypes or games that are unpublished at the moment, and most of them seem to be finished. I was lucky enough to bring mine back. I brought it last year, Call to Post. In fact, it got its name there last year. I had a different name, and it was requested, and then it got requested multiple times, so I was kind of happy with that. There's my shameless promotion there, Edward. I'm learning, but it was nice that this convention also allowed us the opportunity to do those things as well. For my money, this is the best convention. I would trade this for BGG Con or anything else any day. This is my can't miss convention. Basically because it's the most comfortable. The people are serious gamers, but they're not overly serious. It's not a situation where you feel like even if you're in a game with somebody who knows how to play the game and you're new at the game, it doesn't matter whether you're winning. You're having a great experience, and most people are more than happy to teach you not only the game but help you along with your strategy so that you can compete in the game. I don't know. Unbelievably awesome. Well, let's go with believably awesome, and we'll leave it at that. Anyway, I'm done. I'll be on my podcast, or maybe down the road I'll be on this one again. Who knows? But I'll see you probably at HeavyCon 2018. Bye.
Why, hello, Heavy Cardboard fans and listeners. My name is Travis, and I'm from Low Player Count. We're a podcast about 1- and 2-player board games, and Edward and Amanda wanted me to do a brief recap over HeavyCon for me. Now, despite popular belief, I actually play games with more than 1 or 2 people on a fairly consistent basis. However, I actually went into HeavyCon with a specific agenda this time. And I wanted to sit down and play the quirky games. I wanted to play the war games, and I wanted to play stuff that was just a little off the radar. I wanted to play some train games as well. So that was it. I didn't want to sit down, and I tend to go to cons and end up being wrapped up playing the new hotness every single time, or brand new fancy swanky Euro games, or whatever it is. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to focus on war games, train games, and some of the odd duck stuff. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of these are actually 2-player games, but once again, it's in a format that I'm actually able to sit down and play longer amounts with, right? And so Edward and Amanda didn't actually tell me what to talk about, except for it being HeavyCon, so I just wanted to give a highlight every single day of one of the games that I played. So, the first game on that first day, my highlight was sitting down with Skippin. He picked me up from the airport, and we played Union versus Central, which is the 1999 Winsome game. It is a 2-player logistical train game. As if you listen to the John Bohr interview from Heavy Cardboard, John said it is a true train game, and so I like to kind of stick that to people and say, I'm playing real train games. You guys are playing all this stock share mess. But seriously, though, Union vs. Central is fabulous. It is a 2-player logistical train game. And Skippin and I, we've played this before. And he upgraded his dice now from the negative 5 millimeter micro dice to actual 12 millimeter dice, so you could actually use them for the first time ever. And we had a blast. We played the short scenario, which was laying 8-track. You could play the 12, 16, or 24 scenario, but we're not stupid. And it took us 3.5 hours, and so it's considerably quicker than we did last time. So that one was absolutely fabulous. the next game on Friday, oh man, Friday and Saturday were great game days, but I told myself I'm only going to pick one from each. The one on Friday, I think one of the best ones that I played. I want to talk about John Company, but you're going to hear that a lot. So I'm going to talk about Northern Pacific instead. Northern Pacific is a Winsome game by Tom Russell. And man, it's such a weird game. It could last 2 minutes, it could last 20, and it's more, we were able to con Edward to sit down and play a game, because, it's Edward, and so he's running around at this convention, right? So we were able to actually con Edward to sit down and play with us, and it was fabulous. It's more metagaming than it is anything else. And I played apparently 3 games in Northern Pacific on Friday. And, oh man, it was just such a blast being able to sit down and play a quote unquote new Winsome. It's not new, but it's one that I actually hadn't played before. Saturday once again was a fantastic day of gaming, but one of my favorites was Supply Lines of the American Revolution. And my buddy Marcus, who's actually local to here in Dallas, we both went to HeavyCon together, and we've been wanting to get Supply Lines. This is a 2-player game from Hollandspiel, and it's a logistics game set in a war background in the American Revolution. And man, it is cool. It's 2-player only. It has a really unique battle mechanics, but it's all about logistics and all about moving things up and down the supply lines that you are creating, but maintaining those supply lines through battles and reinforcements. So it was pretty cool. It was my first full out play of Supply Lines, finally 2-player, not soloing it, playing the entire game. And we went almost the entire way. There are 12 turns. I believe there are 12 turns, and we went to the 11th one, made it almost the entire way, and it took about 3 hours, but oh man, what a cool game. I'm actually really excited to play Supply Lines again. Last but not least, and once again, we played Fuji Flesh, which everybody kind of balked at. We played Fuji Flesh 4 or 5 times that evening. A bunch of suckers. It's amazing. But Sunday, I played one game, and that was Falling Sky from G&T, and that was with Skippin, Marcus, and buddy Mark, who's local to Colorado as well. And man, the 4 of us we're all fans of the coin system. We all love war games. We don't all love Roman stuff, but we found out that didn't matter, and we just had a blast. We set apart all morning to play on Sunday, and we knocked it all out, and it was absolutely great. So I think Falling Sky is my second favorite coin game now. Cuba Libre is up first, but Falling Sky is a very, I want to say it's a close second, but it's second. But obviously none of this could have happened without Everett and Amanda. They switched locations this year, and they put a ridiculous amount of hard work and effort into it. So thanks to both of you for all that you do, for inviting me along, I guess. It's just way fun being able to sit down and see pickup games of all sorts of ridiculous stuff. I have to plan out my games. Otherwise, the games I don't want to play won't get played. But this time, I didn't plan out quite as many, and I got to play all of the Winsomes and all of the Hollandspiel games in the world, which is almost entirely what I wanted to do. And so I set out to play a certain type of game, and I succeeded. And something like that wouldn't have happened really at most other places aside from a place like HeavyCon. So, Everett, Amanda, you guys are fantastic. See you next time.
It was really cool of everybody to record a segment that was willing to. So thank you to everybody that did. We really appreciate it. And hopefully you get kind of a firsthand account of what HeavyCon was like from somebody that isn't Heavy Cardboard.
That isn't us.
Right? So yeah, again, Pies and Pints Thursday at Origins. We'll be there 7 p.m. We will be back on Thursday with our review of Lisboa. So hopefully y'all tune in then.
Yeah. Download, listen, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
All right, so before we completely sign off,
okay, what?
I have a couple things. I want to say.
Okay, all right. What you got?
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of put into perspective how crazy all of this is, at least to me.
Okay.
All of HeavyCon.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
So I was absolutely exhausted on Sunday. I mean, I was just basically just kind of wandering around the game room. And at one point, Jeroen Doumen came up to me, asked me if I was okay. He could see I wasn't and just gave me a huge bear hug and then walked off. And that is still completely bizarre to me that 4 years ago, I was playing Antiquity just because it's an awesome game. And now the designer can tell I need a hug and is coming up to give me one. And it's also very humbling to have our convention in the same hotel and even the same room where that is held the very first board game convention that we ever went to.
Good point. That was Genghis Con, which is a local con that has been run into the dirt by a local convention. But anyway,
we had our convention was held in the exact same room as the very first convention that you and I went to when we first started in this hobby.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
huh?
It's very humbling. And speaking of humbleness and things,
that's a word. Go with it.
Humbleness, duh.
Yeah.
And I am floored and amazed at what you've turned this into. Not just HeavyCon, but Heavy Cardboard in general.
Oh, it's not a me thing. It's a we thing. It's me, Tony, originally, and now it's you and me. And not only that, but we have the herd. Seriously, we have all the listeners, all the viewers,
all the patrons.
Yeah, without them, this isn't doing anything. Why would we even bother? Why would you hit publish if we didn't care and people weren't listening? So no, it's not a me thing.
But I want people to know that behind the scenes, that not everybody gets to see how much you bust your ass on this.
Well, I appreciate that.
And it shows. And I am so, so, so incredibly proud of you. And I wanted everyone to know that.
Thank you. That means a lot.
You're welcome.
All right, so I guess we're going to end it on a sappy note then.
Duh. I am a girl.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, we'll catch you all Thursday.
All
Thanks for listening, and thanks, babe.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.